Hi guys, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I made my own do-it-yourself brooder box. So the cost of this material was around $70. If you have your own tools, it'll probably be around $50 or less. I got this bin at Target and the rest of the stuff I found at Menards. So here are the stuff you're going to need. You're going to need pliers to cut this wiring cloth we have here. It's called hardware cloth. It only cost me about $5. We're going to be using a drill, and I'm going to be using a circle drill to make holes into the container, and then I'm going to be using one of these little drills to make holes for our zip ties. So I just bought this pack of these 100 pack of zip ties. They were only like maybe $2 or even less. And you're going to be needing a thermometer. It's better to get one with humidity and temperature control, but I only found this one with a temperature, so I'm going to be going back to Menards or somewhere to find one for humidity too. This is the drill key. You're going to need this if you want to switch your drills out. You're going to be needing this heat lamp. It's a 250 watt infrared light, so it doesn't hurt the chick's eyes. And then I just have a permanent marker so I can mark down where I'm going to be cutting the hardware cloth. And then I have a pocket knife. You should probably get a box cutter knife, but I didn't have one, so this is what I'm going to be using to cut it.
The first step is going to be making these holes in the box. Make sure that you don't put them low, because if you do, your shavings that you're going to put in here are going to fall right out. Also, the little birds could kind of sneak through the little holes and get stuck. I put about 6 holes on each side, and I actually broke a bin doing this the first time. That's why I'm putting this smaller bin inside, just so it doesn't press down too hard and crack. I actually had to run to Target because I broke the first box I was using. Then I used this book to trace a rectangle where I wanted to do my cutout. After I finished tracing my rectangle, I took my pocket knife and I started to outline the rectangle that I had made. And honestly, I would probably look into getting a different type of knife, maybe a box cutter knife or something sharper, because I was actually really struggling with this pocket knife. When I finished, I just cleaned up the edges a little bit, made them a little smoother where they were raggedy. Next, I took this hardware cloth. I found this at Menards. This is the 2 feet by 5 feet. I measured out the cloth, put it on top of the bin, and then I used a permanent marker to mark off where I wanted to cut it. And I used some sharp pliers to cut it. And like I said, for the box cutting knife, I'd also invest in some sharp pliers. These were a little old, and also I had trouble cutting this a little bit. I also needed to ask my husband for help because this hardware cloth is actually really sharp and it curled on one side and kept poking me. Might advise to wear some gloves as well. We then flipped the lid and made sure we had a good fit. Once you have a good fit, you could use a permanent marker to mark little dots so we know where we can drill the holes. And these holes are going to be drilled, and then we will be putting zip ties on it. I've seen many videos of people using nuts and bolts with screws. Either way is fine. I just thought it would be easier to use the zip ties. Here we added the zip ties, and make sure that you put your zip ties close together. That's why I drilled holes close together, just so there's nothing loose. I also seen people use chicken wire. The only reason I wouldn't use that is because I have cats and they could probably put their paws through it. So if you do have animals, I definitely would look into this hardware cloth. Once we finished with the lid, I added 2 little holes with the drill to attach the thermometer on the inside with a little zip tie. It's probably best to put it towards the bottom because the chicks will be at the bottom, so you want the temperature better towards the bottom, because if you put it up too high, the temperature on the bottom will be a little cooler than the temperature on the top near the heat lamp. It has a little on and off button on the back. Here I set it. My house is at 76 right now. Here I added my shavings to the bin. I'm using pine shavings. I did a lot of research on which shavings are the best, and they said that pine is the best because it's non-toxic and it doesn't have a strong smell to it. So I added a good thick layer for them. I heard that it's good to have a thicker layer, that way they'll be super warm and they won't get too cool. Not only can you see your little chicks inside, but it's important to put this hardware cloth on the top because the heat lamp would burn the plastic. And I saw this idea in another video. Somebody used the hardware cloth and made it into a circle to put the heat lamp on top. I thought that was such a good idea, especially since I don't really have anywhere to hook the lamp to. I made 2 different sizes, one bigger one and one smaller one. That's all I had left of the hardware wire. The smaller one's temperature actually went a little too high. It was at about like 101, almost 102 degrees. So I ended up using the taller one, and I got the taller one to be perfectly at like 95, 96 degrees. So that's what I think I'm going to use it for. I'll probably clip off like one set of little squares to make it a little hotter, but I think it's okay at 95 actually. I also made this smaller one, and I'm gonna be using this when there's less chicks, maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 3, and then once I get more, I'll be putting them in here. Dexter's really interested in seeing what I'm doing. Hey! And yeah, so I'm gonna use this one if I have like 1 or 2 chicks, and then I'll use this bigger one if I have more of them. I'm also breeding parakeets, mostly cockatiels, but I did buy a few pairs of parakeets. A lot of people actually look for tamed parakeets, so I'm excited to raise tamed and hand-fed parakeets. We're gonna see how that goes. So maybe I'll use a smaller bin for them because they are a smaller bird. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel.